Perspective on all of this and the impact of the election on Malaysia's economy. We are joined now in the studio by Saruhan Hatipoglu, CGTN's global economics analyst and the CEO of BERI. Thanks and welcome.
Good evening.
So what does this say, first of all, about the fact that they elected a 92-year-old man?
Comeback kid at 92, that's the first that I'm hearing of. But look, he's done a great job in terms of pointing to differences in income disparity in Malaysia, pointing to corruption in Malaysia, taking over and actually going out there rallying against the current government with what happened with 1MDB fund. And he just galvanized the people. Majority of the times when the election takes place in Malaysia, the opposition goes for the urban areas like Kuala Lumpur, and the suburban areas go for the current government or the previous government, I should say. This time, they completely changed, and that was because of the really pugnacious style, as you said, as well as the unwavering effort that the Prime Minister now has shown.
So he says he's going to re-examine all China-linked projects in the country. In 2017, there was a $2 billion went from China to Malaysia. What are the implications here of all of this?
Well, the China policy is likely to change because he's going to appeal to nationalist tendencies in Malaysia right now to consolidate his position. And that's a really dangerous game because when you're looking at it, even though he said, well, I'm not against the Belt and Road Initiative, I'm all for infrastructure spending, he and his government is going to scrutinize different types of infrastructure projects. When you look at the East Coast Rail Link, for example, that costs about $13 billion. That, in my opinion, is the first one to go. There are some private residence investments coming from China to Malaysia, geared for Chinese individuals who actually have inquired. The inquiries have gone up over 100% in the first quarter of this year vis-a-vis last year from the Chinese people who want to purchase these places. And Dr. Mahathir is saying, well, Malaysians cannot purchase these residences, so why are we doing that? So that relationship is bound to change, but they have to be very careful because if they cut foreign direct investment from China, what will happen to overall foreign direct investment to Malaysia? And
what about the trade relation between the two if they do cut that?
It'll be affected automatically because now, especially the trade tensions are high. And if you look at Malaysia's economy, it's doing pretty well. It grew 5.9% last year, but majority of that was because of its exports. So with FDI, with China getting cut and overall foreign direct investment getting lessened, and the trade tensions might hit the exports, then that doesn't bode well for the country's economy.
How are the citizens doing in everyday life in terms of the economy?
Well, they're happy and they're not. If you look at different regions in Malaysia, you will see that they're pretty much a developed, advanced country, if you will. The per capita income is about $10,000, which will put them into that category, but it's been stuck there. What we economists call middle income trap is what Malaysia is caught into. But again, the disparity is big. The suburban areas have not benefited from the overall economic growth because of corruption, because of lack of structural reforms, and hopefully this government is going to address them.
What about the financial markets? How will they be viewing all of this?
They are, and I'll tell you, I have some clients who ask me about this, they're worried because, look, the ringgit, the currency, has been the best performer in the region since the beginning of the year. The stock market in Malaysia was the third best. So now comes a complete change in government, and they're talking about getting rid of a very unpopular, yes, tax, goods and services tax, which is 6%, but that has provided more than 20% of the government revenue. What they're thinking about is replacing with the previous one, sales and services tax, which was only 7% of the revenue. Where is the money going to come from? Investors are worried what the impact will be on the fiscal deficit.
And what about the region as a whole, Saruhan?
Region as a whole is worried. Cambodia, Indonesia, Myanmar, Singapore, there are elections there. And the governing style was pretty similar. We're looking at, for example, the Philippines. The government style is very similar, Vietnam. So the bottom line is these countries, emerging markets overall, are more tolerant to soft dictatorships, if you will, as long as the economic conditions are good. Once the economic disparity widens, then the government changes. So they're watching it with great worry.
All righty. We're going to leave it right there. Saruhan Hatipoglu, thank you, as always. We appreciate it. CEO of BERI.